eBay sellers, it's Suzanne A. Wells, and welcome back to another episode of eBay the Right Way. This is episode number 19, and today's date is July 28th, 2021. And this episode is different from all the others so far. I'm actually out of town this week visiting with my best friend from life in Greenville, South Carolina, and we've been hanging out all week, and we thought it would be fun to do a podcast about 80s nostalgia because we met in 1979. We were on the same gymnastics team all through our teenage years. We were deep in the competitive gymnastics world. Not through the high school, but through a private club. So it was a lot of practicing, dedication, a lot of no air conditioning, gymnastics, sweating, all kinds of stuff we're going to talk about. But anyway, that's what this podcast is about, is 80s nostalgia. And so I'm going to introduce my mystery guest, who is named Marion, and she's also my graphic designer and helped, well, I don't even want to say helped, I want to say did a lot of work to get the BOLO book put together and published. So say hello to the audience, Marion.
Hello, listener.
Yeah, we listened to the Jason Bateman podcast. What's it called? Smartless.
Yes.
Yes, Smartless. And they act like they only have one listener, so we thought that was funny. But.
Yes, and we laugh about that, but thank you for having me today. This is a real treat.
Well, I'm so glad you agreed to throw yourself out there. You will only be on your first podcast once.
Right.
So maybe we can make this a recurring podcast if the audience likes it, which you guys have to tell me if you like this format or not. But anyway, we started off our 80s nostalgia conversation talking about stores they don't have at the mall anymore. Because we were mall rats. And I don't think that's a thing anymore.
Well, that's back when it was semi-safe to go to the mall as a teenage girl.
Right. Before we could even drive, one of our parents would drop us off.
Yep.
And we hung out at Perimeter Mall in Dunwoody, Georgia.
And there was no cell phone communication, so Mom was like, I'll be back at this door in 2 hours.
Right. Or you had to make sure you had a dime and then a quarter to use the payphone.
Right.
But, we'd hang out at the mall. There was a movie theater, so we might go over and see a movie and always get some kind of food, which was
popcorn
at the movies and chocolate chip cookies at the mall when they had the cookie factory. So when I asked Marion, I was like, let's talk about stores they don't have at the mall anymore. Her first answer was
merry-go-round. That store was an experience like no other. They had the squishy floor, which was kind of pieced together like a puzzle.
It was like rubber.
Yeah, it was rubbery.
Yeah.
And
why did that have anything to do with a
merry-go-round? For some reason, it always reminded me of an airplane.
Well, they had flashing lights in there.
Yeah.
And like a huge traffic light.
It was most unusual.
And weird clothes.
Yes.
Well, for us, we were very
traditional
and sheltered.
Yes.
And what we were allowed to wear.
Exactly.
But that was a great segue into parachute pants. Now, people that don't know what they are think that they're the billowy kind that like MC Hammer wore in that video.
Right,
and
baggy.
Those are like harem pants. Parachute pants were that nylon material, and they were so tight, like form-fitting. And they had all the zippers, and it was like cargo pants made out of nylon.
But didn't they have the elastic band at the ankle?
I think they did. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I remember I had a pair, and you didn't ever want to wear them in the winter, even though Georgia winters were nothing. They were just like a piece of paper. They were so thin.
Right.
And you would freeze if you wore those. So I looked those up on Terapeak, and some of them go for $200.
That's crazy.
The vintage parachute pants, which I just said in my last podcast, I don't sell pants because I don't like taking pictures and I don't like listing them. But now I'm breaking my own rule, looking for those. And of course, the military green or camo ones sell for the most.
Right. And they're not necessarily form-fitting, so I guess they're more forgiving in the size category.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe mine were just a size too small and I refused to stop wearing them. I don't know.
Because you love them so much.
I know. I was so cool in those parachute pants with my, I don't know, Docksiders. I don't even know what shoes you'd wear with those. I guess just your original Nikes, the white ones with the red stripe.
Yes, I had a pair of those too.
Well, those came in leather and the fabric.
The cloth, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Had to get the leather because those were easier to clean.
Right. Well, and that's what Forrest Gump wore.
Exactly.
Years later in the movie when he was doing his 80s throwback part of the movie. Anyway, yeah, so that's what people call them. Oh, the Forrest Gump Nikes? Yeah, but okay.
That's for the people that didn't live in the era.
Right. So, if you come across any original Nikes, vintage ones, I think the first ones were blue with a yellow stripe.
Okay.
And they had like a waffle bottom.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen those on eBay for up to $300.
Wow.
But it's just all about the nostalgia. And you had a great story about the pink pants.
Oh, my Gloria Vanderbilt pants. Those, I think I actually looked at those for a very long time before convincing my mother to purchase them because they were quite pricey for pants. But yes, they were hot pink and absolutely irresistible for a teenage girl. So I talked my mom into purchasing those, and I'm sure I wore them way too much.
And I don't remember them. I'm sure we have a picture of you in them.
Oh, yes. If we only took more pictures back then. It's not like today where everything is.
Well, and I was usually the picture taker.
Yes.
So I'm not in as many.
Mm-hmm.
But that was by design because you look better than me.
Well, no, not at all. But see, I never had the Polaroid camera, and that's what I really wanted, the instantaneous picture.
Well, do you remember when my mom sold those?
No.
She got a job with Polaroid just to stand around the mall and take pictures of people. And, here's how it works. Here's the picture. And it would develop immediately in front of them. And, they get to take their picture home. And then she'd send them over to, I think it was Wolf Camera in Atlanta to buy a camera. Or maybe she had a supply of them with her that she could sell them on the spot. But yeah, she would do that on weekends as a part-time job. And I have tons of pictures that are Polaroids.
I bet.
But the lighting is terrible. I mean, you had to have the flash bar on the top. And then, wait, my film ran out. I got to put some more film in. Because I think those film cartridges only had like 10 pictures in them.
Mm-hmm. And then the flash bulbs didn't last very long.
No, there was
either.
only like 5 flashes on them. So
yeah,
I was the one at the slumber party that was, taking the pictures of everybody like when they were asleep and didn't know. I was like the stealth, I'm getting blackmail photos to use against you later person.
Were you drawing mustaches on them?
No, I wasn't mean like that. I just was like, hey, I've got that picture of you passed out at the slumber party, so you better be nice. But back to the clothes, we were talking about how we used to dress up for school.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I can remember having a little rule that I just kind of made up for myself. I'm not sure why I did this, but I did not want to wear blue jeans any day except for Fridays.
Yeah, it's like casual Fridays years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I think every day is casual now, but I think I had that rule too. And it wasn't a school dress code thing. It was just we wore skirts and maybe 3-inch heels and ruffly pirate blouses.
Puffy shirts.
Yeah, puffy shirts. And
blazers.
In the late 70s, early 80s, it was the long plaid, well, the knee-length plaid wool skirt with boots and a turtleneck and a blazer.
Yep.
And this was in Georgia, where it really didn't get cold enough to dress like that.
True.
Or we did chinos.
Right.
Pants. That's what we called I think it's chintz is the actual fabric, CHINTZ. Draperies are made out of that fabric. That's sort of slicky,
yes,
shiny, not satin, but we did the preppy look with the Izod shirt
with the collar up.
No, I wasn't a edgy collar up person. Were you?
No. I think mainly the guys did the collar up.
And that was later.
Right.
Kind of late 80s, maybe.
Maybe so.
Sort of like Saved by the Bell people.
Exactly.
Yeah, when that came out. Right. Okay. So, but we dressed up. And we'd go to the mall, of course, and try on clothes that we would never buy. Yeah. And test out the perfume at the department stores. And I mean, the mall was it. But there was one store we really weren't supposed to go in.
Spencer.
Right.
Yeah, that was a little edgy. My mom was not comfortable with me going in that store.
Well, for those who don't know what Spencer's Gifts is, it's like a adult novelty store. And they had stuff like, naked lady playing cards and, these things like a glass. And when you filled it up with water, the person would change from having clothes to not having clothes. And then they had all the velvet posters in the back. Just lava lamps and all this, the black light bulbs,
right?
And just all that stuff. And, our parents were like, no, you can't go in there. They sell drugs in the back. And I mean, it was the 70s. They probably did, but
we were too innocent and naive to know that.
They could look at us and tell we were not going to be their customer.
Okay, you two girls need to stay at the front of the store.
Yeah, y'all need to just go ahead and leave because we know you're not buying anything in here. And then what other stores that they don't have anymore? We might get an Orange Julius.
Right, my cousin worked there.
Who?
Kathy.
Oh, I guess I do remember that.
Yep.
Yeah, those were delish.
They were good.
But like Paul Harris and Casual Corner and the 579 store.
Oh,
Which
yes.
I don't think they can have that anymore because that's like discrimination against people in even sizes or bigger sizes. I don't know. But and Kenny Shoes, which I don't think they have that anymore.
No, I haven't seen that.
Like places like Rack Room and, what was that? Payless.
Yes.
Where you just go get it yourself and try it on.
Right. The boxes are kind of already, the boxes of shoes are already stacked up in the store.
Like we used to go to the shoe store and sit down and they'd measure your foot with that funny black and silver measuring thing. And, you prayed that they had your size in the back. You know, that was back in the day. I don't think I've seen that anywhere. You just try it on until you find your size.
Right.
Yeah. So, yeah, a lot of things that don't exist anymore. And I don't think I've even been to the mall in 10 years. With online shopping, you just don't really need to go.
It's right there at your fingertips.
Yeah. Well, and I was telling the story, speaking of the 579 store, that, this was early 80s when Brooke Shields was doing that commercial for Calvin Klein jeans. And she was like, nothing comes between me and my Calvins. And she was like 14. And that was pretty close to porn. I mean, that was pretty racy.
Right.
So I just had to have a pair of those jeans because I just thought Brooke Shields was, so beautiful. And so I saved my babysitting money and paid, I think, $50 for a pair of Calvin Kleins. But I was so dumb. I was a size 3 because I was like 14. And I should have gotten a size bigger so I could have worn them longer. But,
But you had a fix for that.
What?
When you started to outgrow them.
The little ponytail holder where you hook the ponytail holder around the button and then through the button loop. And it gives you a couple extra inches in the waist. But, when you're 14, you don't really know what's ahead for you with hips and getting taller and all that stuff. So I didn't look up vintage Calvin Kleins. Maybe I can do that right now and just see what those sell for because we're all kicking ourselves for throwing this stuff away. And like if we had it, I don't know if we'd sell it because it would be sentimental, but it's the kind of stuff you can find at thrift stores and garage sales and stuff like that because everybody else is getting rid of it. So I just put that into Terapeak and let's see what's coming up. So here's a set of 2 vintage 80s women's USA union-made mom jeans. Calvin Klein brand. 2 pairs sold for $100.
Wow.
So here's one that's size 10 vintage Calvin Klein. 1 pair still has the tags, sold for $100.
Nice.
Why didn't we save that stuff?
I know.
So, but we can be proactive. We can save what we're wearing now. We can save our mom clothes.
Right, because I'm sure those are going to be worth a lot of money.
Well, Christina, her son's girlfriend, was talking last night about she's got mom shorts and like they come up really
high-waisted, yeah.
And they're mom shorts and I'm like, "Why would you wear that? You're so cute." And she's like, "I don't know. They're just comfortable and everybody else is wearing them."
Because they wear the high-waisted shorts with the crop top.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
All right. Well, I mean, everything cycles back. Like Crocs are back in again.
Yes, they are.
Did you bought a new pair?
I do not have a new pair. But when they were popular several years ago, our whole family, everybody had a pair.
At least one pair.
Right.
Yeah.
And then even the lined kind, you remembered the...
Crocs Mammoths.
Yes. So you could wear them in the winter.
Like a woolly mammoth.
Mm-hmm.
And the fleece lining unbuttons and you can wash that or take it out and wear them as regular or put them in. But you could wash the Crocs and the lining.
Right.
And that's what I liked about them because they were, microbial or whatever the word is, anti-germ. So that is kind of a good fit for COVID.
It sure is. Maybe that's why they're making a comeback.
Yeah. Are people wearing them on their hands? Okay, now we're going to move on to health and beauty products, which means hair and makeup stuff.
All girls love that.
What's your best memory of something you loved? a product you loved in the 80s?
The product I loved for my hair was Finesse. I just thought that smelled better than any other shampoo on the market.
And that came in a blue bottle.
Yes, it did.
Okay, well, I'm going to look that up and see if there are any on eBay. Shampoo. Because, this stuff is still out there in people's houses, shoved in the back of their bathroom cabinets.
Right.
And I've helped you clean out some things, and we came across some old stuff that was like
the Band-Aids in the metal container.
Oh, right. Yeah, that was a metal container.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And we loved Tickle deodorant. And that shows up on eBay from time to time. So let me see. Here's one. Vintage Finesse Revitalizing Shampoo for permed or color-treated hair. You didn't have any perms, did you?
Well, in college, I had a couple, but...
Everyone had to experiment with a perm.
Of course. We were children of the 80s.
Well, I had two sisters, and we would have perm day in my kitchen. My mom would buy those Ogilvy home perms, and she just insisted, our hair was so thin, we had to do something. So we would all be getting a perm at the same time. There was another brand. It'll come to me later when we're done recording. But I remember that Ogilvy home perm because there was a commercial and the lady's hair was just so curly, and I just figured I was going to look like that. But no. Frizzy Georgia humidity, Suzanne. So anyway, back to Finesse. This one bottle sold for $38.
That's impressive.
That's a lot for an old bottle of shampoo.
Right.
This one says 9 vintage. It's a whole lot of different ones. Revlon, Flex, Suave, Silkience.
Oh, I'd forgotten about that one.
And there's the one that everybody knows is Herbal Essence.
Ah, in the green container.
I'm going to look that one up, see how much that's going for, because I've seen that sell for over $100.
Really?
If it's sealed and, in perfect condition.
Sure.
Oh, let's see. Oh, Lord, it has gone up. Vintage Herbal Essence Shampoo, NOS means new old stock. Clairol, $200.
That's unbelievable.
And this one's not even full.
No, it's not. It's 3/4 full.
Oh, my gosh. And when did this sell? That's what I like to look at, is how recently did this happen. June 15th of 2021.
Wow, just a few weeks ago.
All those house clean outs that are happening, pay attention to these health and beauty products. I mean, you may not want to put it on your hair, but, that was the commercial where it was the cartoon girl in nature, and her private areas were covered with leaves,
flowers.
Flowers and leaves. Yeah, it was a modest commercial. And it was a cartoon. Oh my gosh. And then there's some more that sold $177, $150. And there is a glass bottle. Remember the glass bottle?
Wow, that's safe for the shower.
Yeah, it's that was before the plastic revolution. This one looks plastic, but there is a glass one I've seen before. So, yeah, all those shampoos. Flex, that was wax.
Yeah, because one of the things you told me is these people might not be buying them to put it in their hair, but maybe as a background for a movie set or TV set.
Yeah, a prop.
Right.
That happens all the time. I have sold things that have gone to Fox Studios, Universal Studios. That's what's happening.
Yeah, I think that's what you told me was the case with the Tickle deodorant.
Yes.
It went to a movie.
Yeah, which I just pulled that up on Terapeak, and the highest priced one that sold went for $59.99.
Wow.
Vintage Tickle Green Roll-On Deodorant. Now, if you don't know what that is, it's like an hourglass-shaped container with a round dome top, and when you take the top off, it's this big deodorant ball.
Right.
So, I mean, there's a bunch of these on here that went for over.
And it would go on very wet, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, because that ball was so big.
Right.
And then they came out with like the solids that were cleaner, that didn't make such a mess.
That was probably one of their chief complaints from customers is it goes on too wet.
Yeah, it's too wet. It takes forever to dry. Oh, I know what I wanted to look up. Do you remember those razors for women? I think it was called Flicker.
Oh, and they were round.
Yeah. Let's see if any of those are on there.
I think they were pink.
I had several of those. I thought that was the coolest thing ever. Let's see. Oh, here's a whole jumble. Here it is. Well, this one's white, but it's got a pink dial thing in the middle. So one of these sealed Flicker Women's Safety Razor Shaver, 10 blades total. Well, that says 2 razors. Anyway, $50 for this funky little thing.
It's almost like a disc.
Yeah, it's like a disc. And I don't know how long they made it, but I know for sure I had it in the 80s because that was just a cool product. And but it was still a razor. You could still cut yourself.
Mm-hmm. But just a very unusual shape for a razor.
Yeah, but that sells for $50. Who knew? And here's another one. I don't know if you had this one. The Clairol curling iron with the mist.
Oh, I don't remember that.
It was green, and you'd put water in it in this reservoir.
Oh, like an iron?
Yeah.
I mean, like
kind of
that you would iron your clothes with.
Let me see if I can find a sold one goes for $35, and it probably doesn't even have to work. It's just one of those nostalgia things. Oh, there's no active. That's a good sign. But I don't know if you can see this. I could pull it up on Google. Okay, wait, this one's active enough. Nope, that's not it. That's a different one. Which, by the way, I did sell is it pronounced Chi?
Mm-hmm. I think so. Flat iron.
Ceramic flat iron straightener for $40 the other day. Like, look at curling irons, look at hair tools, I guess they call them.
Right.
Those can be good money. Let's see if that's... So it had these little holes in it, and this Clairol, that's called the Time Wave. But there's one that's green, and it was a mist. I'm just going to Google it because now I'm having you to see it. I want you to see it. Clairol vintage mist curling iron. Go to images. Here's a good picture. It's not that big, but yeah, we had that, and somehow you were convinced that the mist was once again going to curl that very fine, thin hair. And then we had the hot rollers, the Clairol heat setter ones that they were very spiky.
Oh, yes.
And
I had those.
Had the little brown circle that would turn to red when it was ready.
Yep.
Yeah. And then they started making them with like a velvet coating.
Right. So you wouldn't burn yourself as bad.
Burn your fingers.
Right.
Yeah. So I have sold some of those. I don't think they were vintage, but hot rollers do sell because they're expensive now.
I think you've even sold the pink sponge kind.
I was just going to say, remember the sponge rollers?
Yeah, that you would sleep in.
And you did that.
Oh, I did that all the time.
I did that too, and it was super uncomfortable.
Right, but you woke up and you looked like you had 3 times the amount of hair that you had before.
But did you brush the curls after you took the rollers out?
Well, it was very difficult because they were so tightly woven. It was hard to brush through them.
Well, there was a certain cheerleader in my grade that wore those, and she did not brush her hair out. You could just tell where she ended. And I sat behind her in math or something, and I was like, I just wanted to get out my brush and brush her hair. She had great hair, but you could see where the little clamped down, and there was this line.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, you might want to get up like 5 minutes earlier so you could brush her
Or
hair.
maybe you need a handheld mirror so you can see the back of your head.
Yeah, so hair care has come a long way, but there's all kinds of vintage curling irons and stuff that people buy just for this reason of like, oh, I had that. But, my curling iron would just get covered with gunk.
Right. Well, because you'd put mousse in your hair or hairspray, and I think it would just kind of stick to the wand.
Everything.
Bubble gum.
Again, that Georgia humidity. You had to do everything you could to, and then some days you just gave up and wore it in a ponytail.
Right.
Yeah. So that's funny. So let's see, what else did we use back in the 80s that I've seen that might have value? Okay, well, one thing we had, it's not health and beauty, but electric blankets.
Oh, yes.
They don't make those like they used to.
Well, because the coils they were kind of hard.
Yeah. You could definitely feel them.
Right. It wasn't the most comfortable blanket, but
did you lay on yours or cover up with it?
Covered up with it.
Right, yeah.
But yeah. It was it wasn't the most comfortable blanket, that's for sure.
Well, you didn't have to sleep in the basement with no heat.
Oh. You're right. But I did have to sleep up in the mountains in a cabin.
Right. So my bedroom was in the basement, like this one little finished corner, because there was 4 kids, and they actually made that for my older sister, and she spent one night down there, and she was like, I don't like it. It's creepy. I don't want to do it. And I was just ready to have my own room because I either had to share with my older sister or my younger sister. And I was like, I'll take it. I didn't care.
I'll take privacy.
Anytime. I'll do it. So, yeah, I moved down there, and my mom was so concerned I'd freeze to death. But I had an electric blanket, and I remember I would turn it on before I went upstairs to take a shower.
Right. So it'd be toasty warm.
Yeah. And I'd have that sucker turned up to like 8. I mean, I didn't want to get up in the morning. It was so warm. But I think over the years, they have changed the criteria for how hot it can get because
fire hazard.
It either burned people.
Right.
It was something about it was burning disabled people that couldn't move and get out from under it.
Okay.
Or they couldn't feel they were being burned.
Mm.
And so, I mean, the ones they make now are they don't get hot. They don't get anywhere near like they used to.
Right. And some that they make now are for directly on the mattress, right?
You lay on it.
Yes.
I haven't tried that yet.
I haven't either.
I'm a hot sleeper, so I doubt I'm going to try that. But, but you spent the night a few times in my basement bedroom.
I did.
Yeah. It was just fun to have my own place.
That was a big space.
And we'd listen to records.
Right. And you would hand paint barrettes for our hair. And you would put our names on our barrettes. So we had and this was long before Personalization Mall came along.
What was that store at the mall that would write your name on anything? It had the little bubbles at the end of each letter.
Yep.
I don't remember the name of that store, but they had like anything you could imagine that they would paint your name on it.
So maybe that was your inspiration.
I'm pretty sure I copy everybody, so. But we didn't have internet. We didn't have video games. Right. Well, we had
Pong.
the most boring video game of all time, but we thought it was the coolest.
Show that to a teenager right now.
I know. They would know what to do with that. So, yeah, we started painting stuff and putting our names on. I had a clipboard, and I just love to have office supplies.
Right.
And so I just, like, my desk had all these little acrylic containers, and we put our names on stuff like that. But back to video games, well, Pac-Man came out.
Yes.
During our time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we had an Atari system.
Great.
So, I mean, you had a pinball machine in your basement.
That was pretty cool.
And you still have it.
We do still have it.
Does it still work?
It still works. Yep.
And does somebody in the family have it and like actually use it?
It's still at my parents' house, but my nephew definitely wants it in his house whenever he's that far along.
Your electronics nephew?
No,
A different one. Okay.
Different one.
We're not naming names to protect the privacy of people that we might be embarrassing. That will probably never listen to this podcast anyway.
Right.
But so we had Pac-Man and we had Asteroids.
Yes.
And you look back.
And Galaga.
I didn't have that one.
You didn't have Galaga?
Well, what about Donkey Kong?
Oh, yeah. Or Mrs. Pac-Man.
And Frogger.
Yes. Poor Frogger. He didn't always get across the street.
No, he got smushed a lot. Oh my gosh, we thought those games were the best. And I guess they're still out there. Now I have to look up what they might be worth. I'm sure I've seen these on Money Making Mondays.
Right.
Pac-Man, Atari game. Just going back to what I had. Well, that's active. Let's look at sold. No sold. Probably putting something. Oh, it says Paceman. No wonder. Spell check got me again. Okay. Sold. Well, here's a lot of 14 games for Atari that sold for $510.
Wow.
These are all like in lots. Lot of 4 Atari games. E.T., Junior Pac-Man, Miss Pac-Man, and other $160. See, in the last $100 sales video, somebody sold a bunch of like Nintendo games. Mm-hmm. See, I don't know those, but
right.
Like if I saw Atari, I would know that because we had that.
Right.
And then we didn't do video games, and then our kids had them.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, they just lived for the day that whatever was coming out.
Right. The release date.
Yes. Just, Grand Theft Auto 4, whatever it was, they just lived for that. But looking at these sold games, I mean, there's a lot. So if you recognize Atari or any of those first, I mean, it was a thick cartridge, like an 8-track tape.
Yes, it was.
8-track tape.
There's another story.
Did you have an 8-track tape player in your car?
I did not, but I had the cassette player.
Yeah, that you would have to pop out and turn over.
Right.
My sister had an 8-track tape in her car. It was a Chevette. Chevrolet Chevette, that little silver car.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, she would drive around with that 8-track tape. Ted Nugent, stuff like that. She was all into the 80s hair bands. And just, it would stop in the middle of the song.
So frustrating.
Yeah. Well, I think we have gone back in time as much as we can today because it's almost happy hour at Marion's house. And The best part of visiting Marion is that I sit at the bar in the kitchen and she prepares food and I just watch and we just chat, and then all of a sudden there's charcuterie in front of me and all of a sudden my drink is refilled and it's just amazing. So maybe we'll do the podcast during happy hour next time.
Ooh.
Y'all will have to tell us if you like this format. You got away with not hearing a vocabulary builder this week, but trust me, I'll catch you up on that. So thank you, Marion, for taking the time to be on my podcast.
Oh, you are welcome. It's been so much fun.
And now you won't have to be nervous because you'll know what to expect.
Right.
She was like, I don't know if I can be spontaneous.
I'm not a public speaker.
Well, all you're doing is talking into a microphone. So it's not like you're standing up at the Fox Theater with thousands of people in there. So thanks for listening, everybody. This is Suzanne A. Wells and best friend from life, Marion. And you can find me on YouTube and Facebook. Please let me know your feedback on this episode if you like it, and we will make more. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll be back next week. Have a great day on eBay. Bye.
Bye.